Joined now on the Damage Report by Marc Pierschel, director of The End of Meat. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited to talk to you about your documentary. I have a number of different questions because there's interesting both personal and worldwide implications of the consumption of meat. But before we get into some of the specifics, tell me about the documentary.
Sure. Well, basically, it's about the idea how our world would look like if we stopped eating animals, well, meat and animal products. So we traveled the world. We went to the US, to Canada, to India, all across Europe to look for people who already are working on this idea. We talked to philosophers, to scientists, to activists, artists, entrepreneurs, and there's really a lot happening, and it's an exciting idea. So that's what the film's about.
So there are a number of documentaries that focus on the negative impacts of eating meat. I've seen several of them, but you've chosen not to do that. Well, why is that the case?
Sure. Well, I wanted to turn things around, and I wanted to look at the benefits of plant-based diets, or just if we leave meat out of the equation. So what would happen? How would our world change, and what are the benefits? So that was the idea, because there's enough negative implications that people are focusing on, and instead I wanted to focus on the positive benefits of this diet.
So if everybody did decide, if today we decided as a species that we're not going to consume meat anymore, in 10 or 50 years, what would the world actually look like?
Well, we talked to a scientist from the Oxford Future of Food program, and he calculated that we would actually save $1.5 trillion in climate damages and healthcare costs, and we would avert 8 million deaths by 2050 each year.
Wow, okay, that's significant. Well, let's start with the climate change. That's a topic that we cover quite a bit on the Damage Report, and we understand that industrialized agriculture and the consumption of meat is a big part of that, produces a lot of emissions. How significant, if we were to cut out all meat consumption, how significant would that be for the overall battle in stopping climate change?
Well, it's responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emissions, so that's almost more than all transportation combined. And it's pretty easy because it's something that everyone can do. So it's just leaving out meat and animal products from our diets, and there's so many alternatives now that it's just really simple to do this, and it's a small step for everyone, I think.
And I've seen some statistics indicating that veganism is becoming more common in recent years. Is that something that you've seen? Do you expect that that's a trend that's going to continue?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that was the initial idea for the film, because in Germany, around 5 or 6 years ago, this really entered the mainstream. We even now have traditional meat-producing companies that do vegetarian and vegan products, and we have more shops, more restaurants converting to veganism or introducing more vegan dishes. So it's really exciting, and we see this spreading to other countries as well, not just in Europe, but across all across the world.
Yeah, and look, I have to admit that I'm in Los Angeles, so it's perhaps a little bit of a bubble, but I've noticed that even in restaurants that have not traditionally had any sort of appeal or brand identity for vegetarianism or veganism are starting to include like meatless hamburgers and things like that. So it seems like it's becoming a little bit easier for people who are interested in trying out a new diet to sort of dip their toes in it at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have these products, or you have the products like the Beyond Burger or the Impossible Burger that are insanely popular, and the taste is not much different from classic hamburgers or, classic meat products. So it's becoming more and more easy for these people. And it's in Germany, it's not the vegans or the vegetarians driving the change. It's the flexitarians. So people who are eager to try out these products, but they don't want to become vegan or vegetarian overnight. So, yeah.
So you had the opportunity, as you were traveling around, as you said, you spoke with a lot of different scientists, and I know that there are various efforts to replace like actual agriculture in terms of raising and slaughtering animals with some sorts of lab-based alternatives. What does that technology look like in early 2019?
Well, it's called cultured meat or clean meat, so you probably have heard of that. And it was just approved by the USDA and FDA in the US, so it's not too long before these products will hit the market. And we've talked to a scientist from the Netherlands, Marc Pierschel, who's one of the pioneers, and yeah, he showed us how the process works. So they take cells from an animal and then they multiply them so that they can have burgers or can produce steaks with that.
And do they have any sort of idea of when that might be, like, rise to the scale where it can actually replace a significant percentage of the meat that's traditionally raised around the world?
Well, it's still a process that's a bit hidden because not all of the companies feel or don't want to talk about how it's going to finally look like, because they have investors that they don't want to share these ideas. But it's going to be a process that might look like a brewery, where you can go into a brewery and then you have these big stainless steel tanks where they grow the meat. And the companies we've talked to in the film say maybe 3 to 5 years. So when we interviewed them, so maybe now 2-3 years, possibly, I don't know.
You know, it's interesting. So as you're talking about this lab, and I know I've had conversations with friends about lab-grown meat, and they like the concept sort of makes some people recoil. It seems sort of weird or perhaps gross, the idea of a vat. And the thing is, like, I've previously, like, I know you've been exposed to what happens in factory farms now. I've edited footage from like pig farms on a mass industrial scale. I don't think people necessarily get what the current situation is like in terms of cleanliness, hygiene, and all of that. And so perhaps that's an area where they can learn something by watching documentaries like yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, factory farming or just slaughterhouses are generally hidden from the public, so we don't see what's going on inside. And in Germany, we had lots of scandals where there was tainted meat. They had some kind of rotten meat that they sold. So all these scandals added up to more and more people ditching meat from their diet. So I think it's something that it's going to increase in the future.
And so I'm curious, obviously people should go and they should watch your documentary, but is there anything else that you would want someone who's perhaps curious about this, that's thinking about either reducing or cutting out meat, is there anything else that they should know about that they might have misconceptions about?
I think it's getting more and more easy to try out these products because they're everywhere to get, and there's more and more restaurants that have vegan or vegetarian products on their menus. So it's really easy to do that. And I think you should start slowly, maybe try out a few dishes, maybe go vegan for once a day per week and see how it works for you, and then work from there.
Okay. So where can people see The End of Meat?
It's out in the US on Amazon Prime, iTunes, Microsoft Voodoo, and Vimeo. And you can go to our website, theendofmeat.com, and you can click on Watch, and it'll show you all the links to the different platforms where you can see the film.
Okay, well, Marc Pierschel, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.